Hi, this is Susan Teton, and welcome to my Seed to Soul series. Seed to Soul is where I'm interviewing knowledgeable and extraordinary people in the multi-dimensional world of vitality and beauty. And today I'm very excited to interview a very good friend of mine. I could take my glasses off. Patricia O'Neil. Patricia lives here on Maui, and she's so dang talented in so many different areas. We're just going to have to start with one. And so first thing I want to do is read you her bio, because it really tells a story of this multi-dimensional world of energy medicine. But today we're just going to focus mostly on flower essences. So let me read you her bio. Okay, Patricia has been a practitioner since 2004 with her expertise in aromatherapy and flower essence guidance. She brings her intuitive and intellectual skills to her clients to gently assist them in finding the perfect blend to address their intentions or specific emotional needs. While caring for a family member with a terminal illness, she was introduced to energy medicine through Reiki and touch for health in the 1980s. Working as a cardiac technician for 18 years, she was able to verify her belief that, and these are quotes, "We are electric beings. Any activity that decreases or increases our electric field can impact our health. Her career," she says, "my career pathway has led me to empowering people to draw on their own inner wisdom. I have trained in aromatherapy, flower essences, Reiki, color, and sound therapy. My training in the IAW Empowerment Program and Integral Human Design provides the perfect foundation and guidance for people to live fulfilled and authentic lives." Now, I know that might be a lot of words for you that you're not used to, but we're going to talk with Patricia another time on human design and the gene keys, which I just mentioned. So all of Patricia's custom blended flower essence sprays and aromatherapy essential oil blends are individually made from pure natural essential oils and flower essences from all over the world, with, of course, loving intention. She has focused on relationship connections and personal coaching using the Gene Key teachings and the human design self-awareness charts. So we'll talk a little bit about how those interact. Welcome, Patricia.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Oh gosh, I'm so excited. As I was sitting here getting ready for our interview, I was just thinking of all the things that she continually surprises me to know. So we'll get on with those later. But since we're going to focus on flower essences, let's just start out with, I always think of them as like they don't have much power. You know, I just think, oh, those little things. I'm sorry to say that that's the truth. So I really want to hear from you. You know, what got you so involved with them, and why are they so powerful?
So, you know, I was first introduced to flower essences. Most people immediately think of Rescue Remedy, which is
Right.
Dr. Bach, who in the 1930s was a physician in England. And he kept having his patients would come to him and not be able to get over specific physical problems. And that disturbed him. He said, we're not getting to the core of something. You get all the medicines right, they've healed, but somehow some people had more and more difficulty doing that. And within this, he noticed that there were certain personality types that had more difficulty with certain problems, a heart condition, or maybe a physical injury. He realized that we're not dealing with the core of the entire human being. So he himself did some research and realized that in ancient medicine and in a lot of indigenous cultures, they went to plant medicines, of course, and a lot of physical medicines come from plant medicines. In fact, most of them do originate there, and then we've learn to isolate what we think the healing property is in that specific plant, and we make a chemical component of that, and we'll heal the physical. And there's this emotional and deeper spiritual thing that gets injured when we are injured or when we've had a serious illness.
Oh, very interesting.
So, and that is where he realized that, what's right, Hildegard Bingen. Are you familiar with her? She was a nun in the, I believe, the 16th century, who used to go out in the morning dew and drape gauzy cloth over the flowers to collect the dew, and then wrap her patients that she cared for in the early morning sun's dewdrops that had fallen on the plants. And this was the first documented use of flower essences that he observed. So he started walking out in his gardens and paying attention to his own sensitivities and emotional states of mind, and started experimenting with his garden. And he developed the first 12 healers. And there are many written, the 12 healers. In fact, I have some of his older books, and I have that one here, that he wrote and presented to other physicians. And it was very difficult for him to get that out there because pharmaceuticals were beginning to take a hold, and there were some people that would take him aside at the end and tell him, you're onto something. There is an emotional component that we're not hitting with wellness. So they're subtle, yet they have deep healing, and they need to be used if you introduce flower essences into your life for healing. You want to use them consistently and over a period of 2 to 6 weeks before you're going to see any change or shift. A lot of people are used to medicines making the fix within a week, and we're back on the road, but we're not totally back on the road, because there's, in our electric field, in our subtle bodies, those who are familiar with energy medicine understand the subtle body, this is where the healing comes. So it's not coming from the outside so much as from the inside, and we're able to heal in layers. With the use of flower essences, it can expedite healing. It can bring an awareness to what we already know we need. When we're on a flower essence remedy for a physical shift, we might find that, let's say we have a knee injury, and the knee injury just can't get well. We've had the knee surgery, we've had everything there, we've done everything we need to do about it, but we just keep having this feeling in the knee. And if you take the flower essence self-heal, which is made from the FES, the Flower Essence Society, out of California, Northern California, from FES, self-heal has been used through the Indian culture for generation after generation.
What is self-heal? What is self-heal?
Self-heal is a wildflower that grows along. It's a flower. It's the name of the flower, and I can tell you self-heal is the common name for it, and most people will know it. A little tiny flower, purple flower that grows along riversides. And when someone has had a surgery, or after the surgery, or preparing for the surgery, they can get insights into extra things that they can do to repair it. But in the meantime, it is healing us on this deeper level that has been injured through non-use, and it reconnects our electric system, our brain and injury comes together. Where otherwise we've had that break.
Right. I just had the coolest aha moment when you said that when somebody gets ill, they also have an emotional, it's like a trauma. right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, for instance, when I had shingles, that was extremely traumatic for me. That was, I'm sure, held a huge emotional component of fear for one.
Yes.
But this is what you're saying. Even if somebody gets the flu or has a small little car accident, anything that disrupts the whole body, this is how they facilitate.
Yes. And
Wow.
now when you say that about a car accident,
Uh-huh.
so often the biggest impact a flower essence will make is with the deepest injury used as quick as possible. For
Right.
instance,
Right.
there was a motorcycle accident outside of my healing practice when I lived in Hilo, Hawaii. And as soon as that fella had the accident, he was conked out. He's laying on the ground. I grabbed my rescue remedy, which I used the one from FES. And it's a trauma solution. It's a post-traumatic trauma solution, and it has a combination of maybe 5 flowers, and it's similar to rescue remedy. And I went out to him. I brought a pillow for, to slip under his head, waited for the ambulance. When he became conscious, I put the rescue remedy on my hands, and wherever I touched him, he was getting a little bit of that flower essence, because we know that our skin is the biggest organ that we have, and whatever we put on it, we absorb into it. So flower essences don't only have to be ingested, you can mist them on yourself, and it gets into your electric field. I asked his permission to give him a dose of it when he awoke. He was disoriented, he was in shock. Immediately, it helped to bring him to focus.
Right.
He said, yes, anything. He just went, yeah. And I felt like that was enough permission. I didn't want to force it on someone. And of course it's not, if it's not going to help, it doesn't hurt. And that's what I love about flower essences. He immediately came very clear and said, can you take my helmet, my gloves, the ambulance is coming, here's my wife's number, call her, here's what I need. And then he was able to take care of being taken care of.
Right.
He came back to me 2 weeks after he broke bones. There were a lot of things that happened. He came 2 weeks after that and said, what did you give me? That shifted my ability to take care of myself for that time.
Right.
He said, I felt when it wore off.
Wow. Wow.
When he got into the ambulance, he got into a disorientation, but he felt like, oh, I wish that lady was here.
Yeah, that lady.
He wanted more. Yeah. So that I have seen that happen time and time again. I've had other people in car accidents who are aware of flower essence use, who will come in and get something right away. People who have, there's a grief formula that can be put together, specific flowers. The flowers hold a signature. How do you know what flower does what? Experiment. So fortunately, we have people who have made that their life's work to experiment with specific flowers, to get feedback, and to at least be able to tell you, we've read its historical use. There's like 12 signatures of flower use. Historical use, its growing environment has a lot to do with what it can do.
Right.
How it grows, the animals and the insects that are around it, and what their job is in the world. All of these things are taken into account. And then you experiment and see if it does give you that shift or not. And that's when they become commercially made available. We're really fortunate because
Right.
back in the day, it was the alchemist that was playing and
Yeah.
figuring out.
Now,
Yeah.
what, Patricia, like essential oils are the oil from the plant. What is the flower essence?
Yes. So the flower essence is exactly what it says. There are some people collect the dew on the flower and never enter the plant.
Mm-hmm.
Others gather the flower blossoms, the specific blossoms, and put them in a clear bowl in fresh spring water closest to the
Mm-hmm.
area where the flower has come from. In pure sunlight, some people use moonlight. It's different things they do with it now, but for me, most flower essences commercially made are from sunlight for a specific amount of time. And then that bowl of water, you remove the blossoms. It is the vibration of the flower.
Right.
Anyone who is familiar with Dr. Emoto, the scientist out of Japan that works with water, and that water holds the message, he has a beautiful photograph of flower essence water that's been crystallized.
Wow.
And he has shown the flower essence of the daisy, and I think he has one or two others that he has in one of his books, and you can actually see the structure of the flower in the
water
frozen
crystal.
water.
Wow.
Yes, it's very exciting stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I
just love the
what we can do.
alchemy. Yeah. Love it.
Now, essential oils.
Excuse me, just a second.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm on an interview on the phone. I'll be off in a little while. Okay, bye. It's my neighbor. No, not right now.
Yeah. So with essential oils, they work beautifully in conjunction with flower essences, but essential oils still work on the physical part of the body. In addition to, the olfactory can set up some spiritual kind of shifting, and it can lift your emotions. It works on our olfactory, but definitely there is more of a chemical interaction there, because you get the scent. Flower essences themselves have no scent.
Right.
And
it makes me think
far
of
more
rescue
benign.
remedy. Yeah, when you
Yes.
told me to get rescue remedy, when I was really experiencing a traumatic situation a few months ago, and I called Patricia and I said, I need help. I just don't know what to do. And she said, go get rescue remedy. And I was like, oh, okay, because I was emotionally distraught and I was dealing with other emotionally distraught people. And I remember when you said, take it every 15 minutes, and that was significant for me. And I think that it really helped me, because it just helped me not just completely lose my mind or go off just screaming or something. It just brought me back. And I got those little lounge lozenges that you put under your
lozenges now.
And they were so easy because I could just pop them in. And I became this person that's, give me that,
Yes.
Another one, yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's fascinating.
I have a client right now who never, ever used flower essences before, was going through a very traumatic breakup with someone, and just totally derailed for just really, I would call me up and say, I'm going crazy. I don't know what to do. I sent him 2 combinations that are actually made from FES. I love that they have a whole line, the Flourish line. It's
That's the second time you've said FES. Tell us what FES is.
Yeah, the FES is a flower essence society with Patricia Kaminsky and her husband. I can't even think of his name right now. And they were the first to bottle combinations other than Rescue Remedy.
I see.
And now the Bach line has other combinations that they've put together. Because when people first started getting interested in flower essence therapy, Dr. Bach was the first one that actually made a school for learning flower essence therapy. And you had to study with him for like 2 years and learn it all. And, you know, now
Right.
we have books, we have access. There's an app that you can just go on and say, I feel like this today. And it will give you the flower essences that can treat that.
Uh-huh.
It's very exciting. But I sent him these 2 combinations and he used them and went on for coaching. Just yesterday, he said, you know, those are all gone now. I'm in a totally different part of my life. Is there some essence I can use, to a flower essence that I can use to deal with my eating disorder? I said, oh, absolutely. It's billy goat plum. It helps you to kind of get a clear body image of what you want, a realistic plan. You get the stamina around what's going on. You can add in, and billy goat plum is from the Australian bush flowers. Then you would add in maybe Banksia robur, especially good for a man who needs to be hydrated and keep his hydration up. And then you might add in some Southern Cross that helps you with your own personal, what do we do when we self-sabotage, when we think we want to do something, a pattern of not following through.
Yeah.
And there you go. Those 3 together, you take those when you're on a new diet plan or nutrition plan, and you have all the background help that your etheric body has this old stuff to clear out, and it clears out quicker. It's astounding.
It is astounding. You know, there's so much we don't know, and especially with energy medicine and realizing these subtle frequencies. I mean, when you start talking about this, I just go right to food. I mean, you know, when you think of the vibration of food and where it came from and picking it out of your garden. I remember reading that the 3 healthiest men that we've known about in the world, like Mr. Bragg and a few others, there was 3 people, but there was one thing distinctly that they did different than everyone else, even though they had the same diet, and that was that they ate from their own garden.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Huge.
Incidentally, Patricia and her husband have an amazing garden. It's not a garden, it's a forest, so to speak. Orchards, beautiful orchards.
Yes.
Yeah. So getting back to those, so the essence, so can we even make our own if we have some lovely flowers that we've have in our garden and soak them in water and use them, just, you know, intuitively go through them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because especially, well, clear up that you're not using poisonous flowers. The white milky flowers you would not want to use.
Okay.
You'd want to only use the petals, so that you don't introduce any kind of other stuff. And then what you would do, you give yourself a little, the ceremony part of it is part of your intention. You can set some intention and sit with it during the 1 to 4 hours, 1 to 4 hours of sunlight. Pay attention, maybe take a little note, do some journaling while they're brewing, which is kind of fun. And then just gently remove the blossoms. I'll tell you, hibiscus here in Hawaii, the hibiscus flowers are really fun because the different colors give the color vibration into the water as well.
Oh, they're so yeah.
And then you can experiment with that. You could just focus on, well, I'm going to try these hibiscuses. I'll try the red hibiscus. I'll try the white hibiscus, the yellow hibiscus from my garden. You make up 3 separate essences. You want to take one for 2 to 4 weeks.
When you say take it, you mean in drops inside, or on your skin? You can take
it in drops or on your skin. You're going to make your flowers. It's very easy. You sit, you decide which, you actually don't decide which blossoms to pick. They decide because they catch your eye and you say, oh, do you want to be picked? And you know right away. 5 to 15 in a bowl. You can cover the whole top of the bowl. Let them sit, let them brew, and then take that water after you take all of the debris out and preserve it in a little bit of alcohol just to keep it sanitary and so that it doesn't sour. Pour that into another little jar somewhere, and you can get yourself a dropper. That is your mother essence. You can take straight from the mother essence, but you could even, if it's something wonderful and you love it, you can dose that down again by just taking a few drops of it and putting it into water.
Like
you can dose it homeopathy.
Yeah.
So you can have the mother, the stock level, and then the dose level. So you can actually dose it down 3 times, up to 3 times.
Wow.
There is no tried, hard, fast rule about how many drops to take. If you feel like you want to take 7 drops, take 7. If you want 5, take 5. If you want 4, take 4. I usually honor whoever it was that made the flower essences when I take it from someone else's stock level. And because that was their intuitive, what they were doing.
Right.
But once they're in your possession or you've made them, it's your decision. And if anyone is familiar with kinesiology, a whole nother thing to talk about, right? They can kinetically check, I need 5 drops today.
Right. I muscle test almost everything I do. Sometimes I muscle test when I'm in a grocery store.
Yes.
I don't really know what I want, like particular food I don't eat as a regular basis, but all of a sudden I'll want it. And I'll actually walk up to it, touch it, and just muscle test my way through the store.
Yes, because our body knows and it bypasses our brain. And I love that. That's what I love about that. And I learned to do that through flower essences. Because it was, well, how do I know? How do I know which flower to use? I got very excited when I first learned about them because I was introduced myself through a trauma. I had a very serious emotional trauma happen to me, and someone from Australia offered me some Australian bush flowers. She said, "You seem so distressed, darling. Here, try this." And I'd have taken anything. Do you want whiskey? Yes, anything to make me not feel like this. But I could not believe within the first dose, because I was so traumatized by this call, all of a sudden I had clarity. And I had that clarity and I followed through with what I needed to do, and I felt better. I wasn't hyperventilating anymore. I felt really good. And then I found myself getting up there again, went down, knocked on her door and said, can I have some more? And she said, "Oh yes, here." And she made me a little bottle from her bottle. And I used that steadily for 3 days.
Wow.
Woke up, it was gone by the time I got to where I needed to go. And I woke up and I felt like I'd been hit by a Mack truck, like I was back to the first phone call that I'd had. And I called her and she said, "Oh, honey, get online and just order some." Well, I got online and I just kept looking at the flowers and I just was immersed. And I went, I need to know more about this. And that changed my life.
Yeah. Good. I
Changed
wanted to hear that story. Yeah.
Yeah. And so here I am today.
Yeah.
And I think the most fun when you have a skeptic, or even you find yourself being skeptical, is to share them with your animals. Or if you have your animals getting needy, or especially dogs, cats will respond quickly. They don't know what you're giving them, but they know that they just feel better because they too have etheric bodies that are disturbed by what's going on. If
how many of us just feel better when we look at flowers?
Yes. Well, I know they're just it's true.
Yeah.
We think about it because they hold such a healing power.
I want to go back to something that you said a while ago that really stopped me in my tracks. And that was, and I'll bet you there's a lot of people listening here that are dealing with this stubborn, whatever it is in their life, whether it's a healing thing. For me, it would be the viruses. It just seems
Yes.
like in fact, I'm going to figure out what to do now and get some flower essences, because, you know, they'll eat right. They do this right. They do everything they know. I can't even tell you how many people say that to me. I just don't know what else to do, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember you saying that earlier, that sometimes it's the key that just unravels. And let me just add a point to that, because sometimes I get wrapped up in the trying. I think, God, I'm just trying too damn hard.
Oh, yes,
You know?
exactly.
And you probably
Yes.
know that about me, but I mean, tell me what you think about how this unravels someone, or how it assists in that.
So, you know, it's so beautiful because taking flower essences is like peeling an onion.
Yeah.
So, and we will get to, might start with like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. I'm not really sure why or how. You start on a flower essence that kind of opens up and reveals. Well, it takes off the first layer of the onion. And what we want to get to is the core, right?
Yeah.
First layer just kind of is peeled off, and you think, okay, well, now I'm getting a little bit more clarity. And you might be able to see, you know, something else that opens up for you. You take a flower essence that addresses that, and now we've peeled maybe 3 more layers off,
Right.
because it's quicker and easier. We're getting deeper, closer to the core.
Right.
And then when we get to that final core, we maybe need to take 2 drops for 3 days, and we've hit the aha moment, and now it's assimilated, and we're able to put it into action steps.
And how do you see this as working? Like, what's really happening in the body?
What's happening is we're healing our electric circuit. It's like our electricity is dirty. You know, they have that with you. We're not getting the full circuit. We're not able to turn the light on in the cell.
So this can be environmental influences, but also maybe core beliefs.
Core beliefs. You can have a core. I mean, most of us have a core trauma.
Right.
When we think about, of course, I bring in, you know, that the beautiful news of your human design, which can, and gene keys. It can isolate our core motivation and our core shadow. And we may find out that if I could just take that essence, the rest of it, I don't need that much.
Right.
But we need to peel away all these layers of, and actually it's armor that we have put on to protect us from that fear, that core fear. Which
right, and it's created an adaptive behavior, most likely. We're either trying to get something or trying to avoid something.
Absolutely.
You know, so this behavior is adapted, that is just becomes a pattern.
It becomes a pattern.
Yeah, exactly. I have one teacher that I work with, and she'll say, when did you first feel this? When did you very first notice this? And it took me a couple years working with her that I went clear back to when I was like 4 years old, sitting in the back of my parents' car. But, you know, we found it. And I just love that you work on these multi-dimensional levels, because it's what's needed today. It really is, because we are really finding out so much more about ourselves and this energetic body and the dimensions. You know, like you'll see somebody that, like my friend called me the other day, and he's in New York, and he's 65. We both share the same birthday, July 4th. So we always talk on July 4th, but he's taking care of his parents, who are both in their mid-90s. And he had a health food store in the Adirondacks 30 years ago, and very much into health and nutrition, has lived here on Maui and builds bamboo homes. You know, so he's really of that wellness world. And he says his parents defy everything he knows about health. You know, every hour they're taking a pharmaceutical medicine. They eat, you know, from the microwave, all processed frozen food. And, you know, it's just completely different. And yet they're fabulous. They're doing really well. They drive, they feel good. They're enjoying their relationships still at 95. That's like,
so you've hit the key. That's the key. That's the magic. because we have all these external things that we know can help us, but those are not the core of who we are.
Right.
You can, it's like, you know, our electric system is the starter.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a brand new Mercedes that you buff up all the time, but if it doesn't have the wiring right, if the wiring is kinked, if you haven't healed your stressors and your wounds,
Right.
then it's difficult to get it to start and be able to drive down the road.
Right.
So that's the core of who we are.
Right.
Here to connect with one another in loving connection.
Mm-hmm.
Who was it that did the test on fast foods that are kind of icky, that are just being made by people that don't care?
Mm-hmm.
And then they check the nutritional content, like a blood test before and after they had the meals, and then they served the exact same food to someone that was lovingly cooked and prepared and eaten
I
with
don't
delight
know.
and in communion, not just quickly wolfed down. There's nourishment that's in there, which may be minuscule, is absorbed better than the best made health food where you're sitting and you're eating it out of
Plastic.
I have to eat these greens, or even I have to eat these greens and I don't like them, and I know it's good for me, and it's good for me. But when you really relax into it and you're seeing it as loving nourishment, it's entirely different, and we can accept it, and our cells light up.
When I used to go into when I used to go into classrooms and we would talk to kids about food and the environment. And, you know, they'd be sitting there and, you know, they might have like, here's my water, and they might have a soda on their desk, and they would slowly take it and put it underneath the desk because they were guilty or felt bad or embarrassed. And so we would always end our presentations with, whatever you do, feel good about it. Whatever you eat, feel really good about it. Do I still have you? Oh, there you are.
Well, we do. I think that my battery is telling me it's going down. So I don't know how that happened. I can plug in.
But I want to go back to talking a little bit about how these work, because so many people use talk therapy, and they'll go into, you know, counseling for years, or they'll go to a psychiatrist and say, you have this disorder and let me pop you a pill. Where the person still has the same pattern. They still have the core beliefs, they still have the trauma. And so what I'm hearing you say, that even if somebody is doing talk therapy and they're working with a counselor, that these flower essence can really help them on these emotional states as well as physical.
I'm glad you said that. Yes, absolutely. So my old practice and little retail shop used to be below all of the court mandated psychologists' offices.
Yeah.
And so often they would come in and just spend a little time to get out of the heat or whatever. I was air conditioned, and it was a pretty shop, so people enjoyed being in there. And we would get talking, and they would say, well, I'm here, I was in domestic violence, and my husband's meeting me here in a minute. We're in therapy upstairs. And we would get talking, and I would share with them a little bit about flower essences. Well, I would say, if you want to come down, if you've had an emotional day, come on down, I'll give you a little mist before you go home. Or if you would like to take this before you go up, because we started getting to be friends. It wasn't long before the psychologists from upstairs would come in and say, what did you give my clients?
Oh, really? Oh, that's great. Yeah.
I want to know more.
Yeah.
Because they were having results, and whatever was happening was opening up. And the most beautiful shift and change that we saw were in the men, the softening,
Oh,
And there
wow.
was one particular flower essence that was so healing for these young men who had been traumatized, and then the trauma would continue in their lives, is baby blue eyes, which restores innocence and heals
Oh, sweet.
masculine energy.
Uh-huh. And it's called Baby Blue Eyes. How cool
Baby
is
blue
it?
eyes. And it restores their childlike innocence and their ability to trust.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that. Wow, Patricia,
Yeah.
we're at our time, sort of.
Lovely. Okay.
Um, Gosh, there's so much more to talk about. I really want to have you back and talk about how these things interplay with each other, like human design. I mean, I'm fascinated with human design and the gene keys, and I've had the wonderful opportunity to study with Patricia for a while, and I want more.
We got a good time.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So where can people get a hold of you if they would like to contact you?
So I do have
And
a
what do you
website,
offer? Yeah.
and I offer I I'm now calling it awakening guidance.
Yeah.
So as we awaken, I can guide you to the tools that you can use to help you navigate your awakening. Awakening to who you are, awakening to
Right.
being authentic, awakening to facing your shadows.
Nice.
It's kind of fun and exciting. So you can reach me at synergyholistics.com.
And that's SYNERGY and then holistics.com. Okay.
Correct.
Is there an
It's
email?
probably the best way. Yes, Patricia at synergyholistics.com.
Oh, okay. You know what I love at the bottom of her emails? It says, put a little flower power in your life today. Is that what it says? I'm
It
close.
does.
Yeah, put a little flower power in your life today.
Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Is there anything
And
you'd like to add?
I forget, I have access to all of it. Well, that I too forget that these tools are available to me. And I
Right.
love it that my husband will often remind me if I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. He says, "Don't you have some tools that you could be using?" I think, "Oh my gosh, yes."
You gotta love
Absolutely.
him.
Yeah.
It makes me want to run out to the store right now, you know?
Doesn't it though?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And just like run your little, do your
Uh-huh.
little,
Right.
yeah,
Will do.
it's beautiful. It's wonderful.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. It
And
was a
everyone, we will
pleasure.
have Patricia back again, and we will talk about the gene keys and human design and even more how to work. I think what's really wonderful that would be great to talk about is how to use them together. Not only what they
Yes,
are, but to understand them and the power of them, but how we can use them together.
that sounds good. I'd be glad to do that.
Yeah. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone. Thank you, Patricia.
Hello.
Have a beautiful
All
time.
right.
Aloha.
Bye now.